From the cloud. Ok. Então hoje eu vou usar pela primeira vez meu pequeno gong para a gente começar a nossa entrevista. Ok. Patrícia, bom dia.
Good morning, good afternoon.
Oh yeah, we're going to speak in English. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Good afternoon. So Patricia, we know each other for a long time, and I found it was a good idea to interview you today. Thank you for participating.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here also. Such a long time that we haven't spoken, like this.
So there's so many things to talk about. Where do you want to start?
Where do I want to start? You're the one that has to tell me, give me the guidelines. Where do you want to start? You want to?
Well, I think we connected in the world of Carlos Castaneda and Don Juan. We first met each other in a workshop in '96, right? I want to hear about your experience, and I know at that point you actually interviewed Castaneda in person, which is a very rare event. I want to know more about your experience at that workshop and the path in general and interviewing him.
Well, Carlos Castaneda came across my life when I was very young, when I was 23 or so, and I read a book of his called Journey to Ixtlan. And that book changed my life. It completely changed my life. And from there on, I kept reading the books, one after the other. And it was so strong, the impact it had on me, that I had him as a personal friend, your hidden friend. I said, one day I'm going to meet him. One day I'm going to meet him. And years went by.
What year was it when you read Journey to Ixtlan?
In 1970, I think it was 1976.
So pretty early.
Or 1973.
Because I think he released his first book in the beginning of the 70s, right?
Yeah, the first books, but Journey to Ixtlan, I'm pretty sure it was on, as soon as it was released, 73 or so, is when I read it.
It was the third book.
Yeah, it was his third book, and I feel that if I had read his other books first, maybe I wouldn't have been caught. But this book really caught.
It's one of the best.
For me, it is. And then I spent all those years hoping that one day I would meet him, And sure enough, at my bookstore that I had in Sao Paulo, Speedo, one day I had this magazine, Yes, it was called Yes or so at that time. I don't remember really well.
Brazilian or American magazine?
An American magazine. And I picked the magazine up and I opened it, and there was a little, in the corner, there was Magical Passes of Carlos Castaneda. I says, wow, Magical Passes of Carlos, that weird. So many people say they're Carlos Castaneda. So I sent there was a 0800 number. So I asked a friend of mine that lived in the States to buy the video and send it to me.
That was already in the 90s, right? In the 90s?
That was in the 90s, yes. Right. It was in 95, around 95, yeah. And so I received the video, and I thought it was very weird, very strange.
Yeah, me too. Mm-hmm.
Very strange, really tough. But somehow and
we never heard about Magical Passes in the books, at least apparently, right?
At that time, no, we hadn't heard anything about that. So it was very strange. So I sent there was a fax at that time. We didn't have internet like this. It was a fax, and I sent a fax, to connect with the group, with the people that were sending the video. Mm-hmm. And from there, I started the conversation, and I was really wild. I said, I made this up. I made it up. I said, I'm a journalist. I want to interview.
You were wild, or you were still wild?
I'm still wild.
Maybe you were more wild, maybe. I don't know.
Yes. And at that moment, I asked.
So you told them you were a journalist, right?
Yes. I told them I was a journalist. And they said, no, he doesn't let anyone interview him just like that. No. And I says, well, okay. So I waited a while, and then they got back to me, and they said, we asked Carlos, and he said that he would be very happy that you interview him. Wow, so it's going to be a seminar in Westwood, one of the very first ones that he was showing up, and he says, you can interview him.
Wow.
You're invited to come, you pay a little bit here, and you come. So
what did you feel, Pat? What did you feel when you had that news? I mean, I am having goosebumps here myself.
I actually was shocked completely, and I said, oh my gosh, now what? So I bought the ticket. I went to California, Westwood, at Westwood UCLA.
Mhm.
And when the day came to interview him, actually, it was a 6 day, it's a big
It
interview,
was 5 days, I think. Yeah.
I think 5 days.
Yeah.
I went to the interview, and I wanted to take someone with me because I said, I can't go alone, you know. We can't film, we can't,
Such a powerful character, right?
how could I go alone? I wanted to bring someone with me, but they said, no, it's only you.
Wow.
So I went to have lunch with him, and Talia, which was at that time one of the main figures, she was the president of Clear Green, an amazing creature. And I met him, and as soon as we sat down to have lunch, I was excited. My heart was beating. I was very
Wow. Where
nervous.
did you meet him at UCLA?
Yes, no, they set a restaurant in close to the university, a restaurant. And so I go to the restaurant, and anyways, just to make it short, when I sat down to talk to him and the interview, it was as if I was talking to you. He had no way of, being the star of the anything. He was very, direct. And
Wow.
it took
Like a
off
real person, right? Like
my
a real
fear,
person.
my nervousness all went away immediately. It was like we were talking for, been friends for years.
Right.
It's like when he came into the Westwood um, seminar, and when he walked in, everybody was, oh, Carlos Castaneda. There was about 1,000 people there. It was one of the first times he was showing up in person, because, as you know, he kept, backstage. Only the
Yeah.
books were out.
Yeah.
And so we were all, oh God, we're going to see our. And he walks in, and in 1 second, he makes his, and
Right.
all he says was, hello, my name is Carlos Castaneda. I'm here to have a talk about a romance with infinity, or something of the sort. That was it. And
Yeah. Yeah.
immediately he
Yeah.
cut
It
the,
becomes very natural, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's funny because you're near saying like this. At that time, I think many people might be, I'm guessing some people might be thinking, well, are these guys kind of like putting him on a pedestal? But the fact that he was like unavailable for like decades, right? After he wrote his first books, he was just a mystery. Nobody knew who he was, where he was, whatever. I mean, they knew he was a teacher, but that's kind of a very, when that workshop happened, it was something like very rare, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And we always were expecting the next book, the next book. When is the next one coming? So when he decided to present himself, in public, it was a big surprise.
Yeah.
And the way he did it was not as a big star that is waiting for our applause. It was very natural. He's immediately started to share experiences, not what he was, giving at that particular workshop. And then at the end of that is when I went to the interview with him, and that I interviewed him. And this is the part that is most interesting, that I want to share,
Mm-hmm.
because he talked to me when I asked him where, because there's a lot of mystery, or where was Castaneda born? Where was
Yeah.
he born? And blah, blah, blah.
As if
No,
that matters, right?
as if that matters. But people always ask that. And I asked him, of course, and he said that he was born in Brazil, and he gave a name of a little town close by to São Paulo called Juqueri, where there is a psychiatric hospital there. Juqueri is a psychiatric, and I says, wow, that's weird. And
You
then
think that
joining,
might have been a joke or something?
well, the funny thing about it is that joining the dots, when he gave his first interview in 73 to Time magazine, the person who interviewed him put that he was born in Peru, in a place called Cajamar. And Cajamar, Peru. There is a Cajamar in Peru. However, in São Paulo, this little place called Juqueri is situated in a place called Cajamar, Comarca Perus.
Interesting.
So,
yeah, mystery solved. Yeah, for sure.
So for me, it's true that he was born there, because how could he know, Cajamar, Comarca de Perus, and the journalist heard Cajamar, Peru. But there is a Cajamar, Comarca de Perus.
That's so interesting. Yeah.
So I said, oh my gosh, so he is from Brazil. That's my feeling,
Wow, it even warms my heart. I know it doesn't matter, but it really warms my heart, like, wow, he's from Brazil. That's really cool.
And the other thing, part of the interview, which I want to share, is that I also, when it was finished and I wanted to, I said, oh my gosh, I'm a liar. I'm not a journalist. What am I going to do now? So of course he knew, because he was no asshole.
And he's also a trickster, right, too?
Yeah, so I made a point. Well, anyways, I told him, can you please edit? I'm going to send you what I write, and you edit what I wrote, because it's what I heard, my notes, and it's going to be my way of interpreting our conversation. Can you please edit? And he says,
nice.
No, you write whatever you want. Because when I leave, some people are going to say good things, some people are going to say negative things, and it's all the same. You have to write. That's what's on your road. So you write whatever. I said, oh my gosh, what a responsibility. And so when I came back to São Paulo, and I found a way, I wanted to put his interview in a big famous magazine, but this magazine wanted me to go search in this area, in the, how do you say in English, where you have your birth certificate?
Cartório. Notary public.
Yeah, they wanted me to
Search
go
the
to notaries in that region to check out in that dates, more or less, that. And I said, oh my gosh, to be a detective? No way. So I said, I'm not going to do this. I'm not, forget this magazine. But I checked with a girlfriend here, Glaucia, you might know her. She's an amazing woman, about this. And she told me that in that area of São Paulo, in the years that probably Castaneda was born, there was a big flood and there was no registration of anything.
Wow.
Even if I went to look, I wouldn't find anything.
Right. Huh.
So it all kept, mysterious anyway.
It's interesting. He talks about his childhood in a farm with an uncle or a grandfather or something. And now I'm thinking, oh, that was in Brazil, like in the Active Side of Infinity, his last book. He talks about experiences as a child there, hunting for a vulture. Remember, like he got inside of a donkey to hunt for a vulture. Yeah. So Pachi,
he says he left Brazil when he was about 12 or so and went to Argentina.
Yeah, so, I think the story was before 12, maybe.
Yeah,
he went to Argentina. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why many people from Argentina end up being part of his movement, maybe, right?
Yeah, but I did publish it in a smaller magazine, because I said I'm going to be impeccable. I said I was a journalist. I'm going to put it, and it was published, but not in the fancy magazine. So that was the beginning of my first contact with Carlos, with Castaneda.
So can you just give a little taste of how the interview was? So what other highlights do you remember?
Yes, one of the highlights was when that he said about, if I asked him if he had known a big writer here in Brazil. I won't even say his name, not to expose him, but a famous one that loves Castaneda. And he said something very interesting. He said, this person thinks he's immortal, and it's not about that, you know. We have to be very, 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 you know, here and now, you know, be impeccable with our walk right now, here. That's one thing that caught my attention very much. And I think that that was a highlight. There were others like, you know, when you, about teachers, masters that we look for in our walks, in our life, you know, that the most important thing, you know, you have all kinds of gurus and masters. And he said, pay attention. Stay with them throughout the day. Spend 24 hours. See how this person deals with his children, his wife, his friends.
If they allow you to do that, right?
Yeah, if they allow.
That's really.
In order to choose someone to be your guide, your master, your teacher, he said that, you know, excuse
Bless
me.
you. Bless you.
Check how he deals with his daily life, his routine life, and then you can decide if you want to be with that person or not. But he was very simple, very easygoing, nothing,
Was he funny? Was he funny?
Yes, yes. He fooled around with me because he said that, you know, I'm taller than him, you know, that I'm over here. He says, you know, we joke around. And other things that I think that were very, very special of his comments directly to me was when I asked him about, after we exchanged fax and I would make questions and he would answer through the fax. At that time we had fax.
And after that, right.
Yeah. But it was following that path. I asked him about the what is love for a sorcerer, what is, you know, things like that. And he just said, you know, it's abstract, you know, it's you don't expect anything in return. Love because you love. I love you because I love you, period. I'm not expecting anything in return.
Unconditional love.
Unconditional love. Unconditional love. And, you know, little things, you know, seeds like that are still with me, you know, very simple things, nothing, you know, but the basics are there. So that's how Castaneda walked into my life. And to this day, I follow this path.
So you use the word sorcerer. Many people have a negative connotation of this word. Could you please talk about more what sorcerer means to you and to him?
Yes, I know that the word sorcerer is used, you know, but in their sense, in their understanding, the Toltecs, sorcerer is not someone who is doing, you know, messing around with, you know, to change or situations or to bring something positive or negative, you know, doing ceremonies, you know, that kind of witchery, right? No.
Or something to do for personal gain.
Yeah,
or not that, yeah.
Not at all. Sorcerer is someone that has a connection with the infinite,
with the source,
with infinity, you know, that has the whole walk of Castaneda and the Toltec tradition is freedom, right? Freedom of perception, of opening up this whole window and being able to see what's there without this interpretation, without this
filter.
No, I'm laughing because my friend made a funny joke here right in front of me. Otan is here going to the
say hi to him.
Hi, Otan.
Say tell him that Austin has a great weather now, 72 every day.
Wow. Yeah, he's going to the waterfall. So going back to sorcerer and to a guru and stuff like that, you know, it has nothing to do with that. Just one moment.
Nice.
The flashlight. Here you go.
Oh,
There you go.
thank you.
Good. So a sorcerer is someone that has the possibility of going beyond this horizontal, what we call the tonal, you know, that can go beyond that. That's a sorcerer in this tradition. So it's not about doing things for your own benefit or, you know, messing around. No,
Yeah, the way I understand is what they talk about the Nagual, which is the counterpart of the tonal, right? It's the being that has a direct connection with the spirit and direct access to intent. Yeah, but we can define these words later. So, Pachi, after you went to this workshop, that was my first time that I went through it, and I saw him for the first time. And after you went to this workshop, how has been your path in this path, in this Castaneda / Don Juan / warrior / sorcerer path?
Well, it was so intense, was so significant for me, and that I never stopped to this day. It changed ways of approaching it, of being there, but I never let it go, because to me, this path talks to my heart. That's why the path with heart, it talks to my heart. And there's one of the things that Don Juan or Castaneda said was, if this path doesn't touch your heart, leave it. It's an aphorism. So it touched it clearly, and from there to the present, there were changes in this path. Not because of the changes within the essence of the work, but we're humans. We have different ways of, and there was Clear Green, who was the one that first structured these workshops.
The organization, right?
The organization, which I respect deeply. But somehow along the line, before that, Castaneda said one thing that I kept very clear to me, was that the magical passes, that are the movements that we do to bring energy back to our centers, right? He says that we should practice them without having, one leader, one person, it's a group practice. Because that energy it's a critical mass of people. So when I got to Sao Paulo, as you know, we had practice groups that we created in the city of Sao Paulo, that we would meet 3 times a week. It was very, very, very clear, and lots of people would come, and we kept that flame alive for many, many years, practicing.
That was from probably 96 to 2000 and what?
Yeah, it lasted on this particular place was about 2000 and so, and then we practiced in the park, open space, in Ibirapuera. It's a big park there, and we organized in Brazil workshops where we brought when Castaneda left in 98, the apprentices we brought to Brazil for seminars here in Brazil. Were very well.
That was more than one.
Yes, there was one in 2000, which was really big at the University of Sao Paulo, which a lot of people came, and then another one that was in 2003, if I'm not mistaken, that we did at a beautiful place. Also, a lot of people came, and then we made smaller ones, through in Curitiba and other places. But we made it a point to establish in Brazil practice groups, and that was very important. However, there was a separation, as you know, of understandings of Clear Green and some apprentices in 2010 or so, around that time. And there was a split between Clear Green and a group, and Miles and Aaron, who started Being Energy, another practice group.
Who are Miles and Aaron?
Miles
so people.
Aaron are direct apprentices of Carlos Castaneda, of the beginning, 90. When I went there in 96, they were already there. They're from Argentina, but they had gone and they stayed living there and became, they had direct contact with Castaneda for years and years until Castaneda left. Maybe they were there in 95 already. And
would you say that Castaneda was for Don Juan like they were for Castaneda, like direct students?
Yes,
Yes?
yes. They were direct students. They gave up everything they were doing on their, and most of the apprentices, there were other apprentices also that would give the magical passes, as you know. And Miles and Aaron at that time, Miles went to be a doctor. Aaron was, well, anyways,
And
they,
Miles was the man that is in the Magical Pass book on the photographs, for those who
yes,
know Castaneda. Mhm.
yes. And Aaron also shows up in the
Oh,
video.
she's there? Oh, in the video, but
Also
not in the
there
book.
too. Yeah, in the
I
video.
think the book was Kyle, that tall, blonde.
Kylie.
Kylie, yeah.
Kylie,
There is
yes,
a
Kylie.
city of Kyle in Texas, so I'm like confused.
No, Kylie is one of the special ones because when Castaneda left, Kylie, Florinda, Taisha, and Talia disappeared of the picture. There's no news, no tracks, nothing that we can know of what happened to these women. Kylie, Florinda, Taisha, and Talia disappeared.
By the
Exactly.
way, Florinda, Taisha, and Carol, which didn't disappear apparently, they were at the very first workshop that you interviewed Castaneda that I was
Yes.
too. That was a huge event. That's not
Yeah.
only him, but his cohorts.
Yeah, his
Yeah.
cohorts were the ones that had also met Don Juan, which were Taisha, Florinda, and Carol Tix. That was the group that was with Don Juan as well. And those kept together until 98, and then Castaneda left, and the three, Taisha and Florinda, left together with Kylie, which was an apprentice, and Talia, which was the president of Clear Green. They simply disappeared. There's
What do
no,
you think happened to them?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. The only thing I can say is that that I think they were impeccable, and the decision of just moving out was, a choice of, okay, this is something, whatever happened, I don't know. There's stories, there's
When right,
gossips here and there, but I
when you say moving out, what do you mean? Decided to move out. What do you mean?
because there was a group, a group of people that were giving the instructions. They were a group to continue the legado, the legacy of
Legacy.
Juan, right? And so when Castaneda was not there, Castaneda said one thing to me now that I remember in the interview, which was very difficult to accept and digest. He said to me that when he left, he would like to go with his whole tribe, move on,
So
like,
when he left, like when he decided to leave, he would like to bring his whole entourage,
yes,
students.
that little group. And he said, and if that doesn't happen, I failed. He said to me, he was kidding. He said, but that, because that's my dream, that we can all, just like Don Juan. Don Juan, when he went with, with a group. And I would love to do that as well. That,
Wow. So,
so when
oh,
they decided to leave and disappear, who knows what happened really? I don't know.
so that's interesting because let's think about it. When he said, "I want to bring my whole group," who who do you think was this group? Florinda, Taisha, Talia,
Carol and Talia.
Carol, and also Kyle,
No, Kylie was an
Kylie.
apprentice, just like Nai, like Renee. There was the Blue Scout also who disappeared, and he was found in the desert. But I
Yeah,
think the main
sure.
ones
Yeah,
were
they
Florinda.
found her bones in the desert, right?
The main ones were Florinda and Taisha and Carol Tix. Okay,
So
Talia came after.
differently than Don Juan, because as far as I remember, and I read the books a long time ago, Don Juan had a much bigger group. Why do you think Castaneda has a smaller group?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer that.
I think
Uh,
Don Juan had like eight cohorts, right? Something
yeah,
like
at
that.
that time there was, yeah, the guys
The
were,
old Florinda,
and now we're
Silvio
talking about,
Manuel.
yeah, that came and left, and there's, several. Of course, Castaneda has a lot of people that were very close to him that moved on and are doing something, carrying on this legacy. But as you know, the Toltecs, or this tradition has taken several lines, right? Lots of different groups throughout this world. And, like I mentioned to you at a certain point, many people are concerned whether, is this true? Did Don Juan exist? Did Castaneda, did he make this up? And this, all this talk about, a lot of gossiping
Yeah,
also.
that happened since the first books. People like
Yeah.
Cecile DeMille writing books, trying to debunk him. And then after his death, that girl, I think was
Amy
Ernest
Wall.
Hemingway, Amy Wallace, saying
Yeah.
negative things about him and the group. That has always existed. What do you think about those critics?
Yeah, that's something that calls my attention because uh, a lot of people come to me because I met him and bring me information. Look, this book, this is saying this is saying that, trying to put him down, as a fake.
That happens with Gurdjieff and Osho and most spiritual masters
Yeah.
too.
And the whole thing to me boils down to one thing. The essence of what I read in those books, what is there, what I integrated within my life is so strong, so important that if this is, if this was, don't want to exist and exist, if he was just, a medium, let's say,
If
and
he
he
was
was just,
just imagining like a word of fiction, doesn't matter, right? Because the message is
doesn't
true.
matter at all. It's what touched my heart. It's like Gurdjieff that you mentioned right now.
Mm-hmm.
Gurdjieff is also part of my life because when I got married, a friend gave me a book of Uspensky, and I opened that book. I read 3 chapters and I said, oh, this is too much. I can't read this. I want to play a little bit more. And I put the book aside, because it was too strong. And
I
then
know exactly what you mean. Yeah, I had that
then
experience. So.
years later, when I was going to live in the States, I took the book out of the shelf of Uspensky. I said, now I can read it. I read it. And then when I came back to Brazil, I entered a Gurdjieff group, which I spent there 20 years of my life.
Wow, that's a long time. So you
But
were concomitantly with the Castaneda path, you also in the Gurdjieff path, I guess. There was an intersection that you were in both paths at the same time, right?
yes, because Castaneda wasn't present. He was only the books. And the Gurdjieff group of São Paulo that I entered in 82 was there. It was a place that I could study, learn, practice movements, and it touched my heart deeply, 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 deeply.
Yeah.
So I found a lot of things that are very, very close and it's the same thing practically. It's the fourth
Yeah.
way. We talk about Gurdjieff, the fourth way. And when you study the Toltec tradition, you're talking about the fourth way also. We involve body, all the aspects. It's not about talking, it's about dealing with energy.
And it's a
So
path to be walked in the world. Like you are
yes,
not in a mountain or separated in a monastery, like you are in the world, walking the path and connecting to the spirit.
exactly. That's exactly what the Toltec path says about the Tonal and the Nagual. Here we are, in this horizontal world with everything that's happening, the concrete, the form, the names, everything that we have in front of us clearly. But then under all this, behind all this is the Nagual. That is another word for Nagual, but Nagual in this aspect is the unseeable, that which we don't, it's behind all this, it's the more intuitive, the subtle, what's behind it all, this big picture. And Gurdjieff says the same thing. when he talks about, the world out there, first take care of this part, and then we can go to our superior, superior being, right? To observe this little guy here when he talks about the carriage, right? The horse, the carriage, the one that's in front.
Yeah,
And
the horse is the emotions, the carriage is the carriage, like the cart is the body, right?
body,
And the
and then you
coach is the
have the guy,
mind,
the mind, and then you need the fourth one, the one that's, is higher than all these three, the fourth way. So
the
it's very,
master,
very
yeah.
similar to this, path. And so it crossed my path, and I kept with it. And in 96, when I went to see Castaneda, and I came back and I shared with my friends of that group, I was kind of, oh, here's the little lamb that's leaving the tribe. They got kind of, oh my gosh, even though they loved Castaneda, but here's outside of the box, and that caused a little bit of a disturbance. But anyways,
What they were not open to it?
at that particular moment, no, because they were afraid that I was going to create a sect of Carlos
Oh,
Castaneda.
right.
It's like, it repeats itself,
Human
Moses.
beings, human beings.
Here we are, we're
People.
not human. I always play, we're walking towards being human. We still have a long path on that road, right?
Tell me more. You think we are below humans in some way?
Not that we're below humans, is that we have so much to learn. So much, our walk is, it's like we keep looking, looking. And then my question is, what have we found? I've been on this walk for decades, and like, the Gurdjieff, Castaneda, I'm also a Taoist teacher,
Oh,
because
tell us more about it.
that path crossed
I
my,
told you 2 hours might not be enough. Well,
no,
we are actually in 44 minutes already, so you know.
no, it's like this, I think that if we pay attention, like, I think this has to do with the Toltec path, with all these paths. If we pay attention to what crosses our path, what comes across, the synchronicity of events, of signs, and we pay
Omens.
attention to that, then we kind of, we find the right path. So here I am with Castaneda, with Gurdjieff, and then something happened in the Gurdjieff group that I won't go into details now, but caused turbulence. And that caused, I said, oh, I never understood these aspects. Let me go search. And the moment I thought about that, a teacher of inner alchemy, Taoist inner alchemy, was in Sao Paulo and gave a lecture, and I went to listen to it, and I said, the only thing I knew about Taoism was the I Ching, or the Tao Te Ching, just slightly, But then I was in, my gosh, this is something I have to dive into and study, which I did. And that gave me the opportunity to meet Mantak Chia, who is one of the instructors of this inner alchemy. And I was his interpreter. I became a teacher of Qigong.
Oh, that's
Um,
great. Which
I
is very similar in many aspects to the Castaneda's magical passes, the movements, right?
Exactly. I said, my gosh, they talk. So, and if you remember, Moses, Castaneda said that there was a Juan Matus, no, what's his name? The one that he would talk about that came through China, crossed to
Oh,
the
Luhan.
Luhan, and a Nagual, very past the first Nagual, perhaps. And he crossed from China
One of the,
down,
well, I think as one of the first.
one of the first, came down to Mexico and met them. So you see this tradition of China, coming down and meeting with the Toltec, with the Mayan, because Toltec is not a ethnical group. It's a philosophy. It's like it's the artists called, um, artists, wisdom artists, right?
Oh,
And
that's what Toltecs mean?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
artists,
Cool.
of wisdom,
Wow.
we're here But then going back to what I was saying, all these paths that crossed my intuitively through signs, you know, it's like you bump into someone and you say, ah, okay, you know, let me see what's here. That's something that I have been doing all my life, you know, I don't go out there to study academically or anything. What comes and crosses my path, that's what I'm going to go after. And Taoism came that way
You
to
have
me.
to be very connected to be always open to this. Like in my life, I had moments, probably maybe years, not, I mean, some longer, some shorter, that I feel connected and all the synchronicities happen, all these things happen. But there were also parts of my life that I felt totally disconnected, like in darkness, in confusion, kind of lost, you know. But have you always been connected like that? Or you lost that sometime, some periods of your life?
Well, I believe that I have most of my life been connected because it's like,
Wow, that's cool.
for example, the book of Journey to Excellence. How did it come to my hand? I was experiencing mushrooms at that time. It was the first time that a group of us were experiencing mushrooms,
Magic mushrooms.
magic
Not,
mushrooms.
not
And
like the mushrooms you buy in the supermarket, right?
no, no, we picked them up in the, you know, the cows were, you know, we were very nature. And there was a group that was, didn't take and a group took it so that, you know, as to help, you know, what's going on here. We had no idea. And though that experience was very intense. And then as soon as that was over, a girl came to me and says, I think you have to read this book. This talks to you.
Wow.
I didn't know Castaneda. I didn't look for it. It came to my head, just like the
Yeah,
book.
I had a similar experience, um,
Tell me.
almost similar. I was in a search. I was in a very deep search, very curious, and then I used to go to what called a cooperative of medicine in Belo Horizonte, my city that I used to live. And I was always looking. I remember I bought the Tao of Physics, you know, book from, forgot his name. It was very famous at that time. And I usually, I think on the medicine there was a psychiatry session that had books about psychology and psychiatry, right? So one day I was like there, and literally the book fell on my lap. Like I was looking at the book and suddenly a book fell, and I was like, what is that? And I think Carlos Castaneda. For some reason, the name was familiar. I never heard, but first was familiar. And I started reading, and that was The Power of Silence. And then I got hooked. I read all the books until 89 in a week interval of a year. And it
Okay, that's
was,
exactly what I mean about following. Things fall in our laps and
yeah.
we don't take it seriously. And when they fall in your lap and you bump into that, that's something that's right there for you. You know, like Jung would say, you know, that's important for you to pay attention to. And I took that as a lesson in my life to be very pay attention to the signals that come and you know, where I'm moving and how I'm going. And believe it or not, it's a way of opening doors
Oh,
because
yeah.
the more you're connected with what's being brought, things come to you without you having to be running around. And
Yeah, I remember there was a word, I think in Journey of Excellence, which by the way, when I read Journey of Excellence, it was I started with Power of Silence, then I went to the Devil's Weed, A Separate Reality. By the time I was reading Journey of Excellence, I could only read 10 pages at a time, and I had to walk, you know, it was so intense. And anyway, I forgot what I was saying. I'm kind of
yeah, we
excited
were
with the
talking
conversation.
about the humans,
Oh
right?
yeah, the
Yeah,
word,
about the word of
the
humans.
word in
Where are
omen. It's an omen, augurio, omen, like to be open to
yeah,
omens, to this
yeah.
message from the universe.
And when I look around, I said, so many, you know, we're all looking for things. Sometimes we go to workshops and go this way and do that and experience this and that. And then I stopped many years, you know, just you know, some years ago, and I says, okay, stop going out there. All of these are wonderful, but what have you found? What have you, you know, a
Mhm.
seeker is wonderful, but what have you found? Because otherwise, if we don't stop and say, okay, where am I here and now? All these amazing gifts that have been brought, this wisdom that is here, the practices and everything. So how does that integrate for me to be a human being, that, what we're really here for? What is my
Like
purpose?
develop your own potential, right, as a human being.
Yeah, who are you? What do you want? What is your purpose? What are you here for? That's it. Just a simple little, thing as that, which is so big, and we don't know. And we get, we're looking out there, So
Yeah.
at this moment of my life, as an elder, an abuela, a grandma, I feel that it's time to just, I teach, do a lot of things, but with myself, I'm constantly on the, where are you? Where are you right now? And all the practices, like Gurdjieff would say, the remembrance of oneself, where am I right now? Where am I right now? Who's here? Because we get lost.
Yeah.
It's a tendency
It's
of us.
so much information, especially now. And there was a book in the 60s or 70s from, I think it was Chongpan Trungpa. He talks about spiritual materialism. It's almost like a spiritual consumerism to be, it's part of the path, but it can be also something as a distraction, right? Because I think you have to aim the essence and keep the purpose.
Yeah. It's like, I think Lao Tse, I'm pretty sure, he says that the only sin is to miss the point. Like, here I have my, I'm looking in that direction and toom, and I miss the point. That's the only sin there is that we can talk
Yeah.
about.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think in Christianity, I don't know if it's Christianity, but I think that the meaning of the word sin is miss the mark. Did you know that?
Miss the mark.
That's
I
the
didn't know
meaning
that,
of the
but
word.
that's
Yeah.
that's what Lao Tse says, and in his expression is the same thing. I'm aiming at the goal over there with my uh, arrow, and I miss it. I miss the mark. So here we go, and that brings me to, as we're talking, to that law of 7 or 8 that Gurdjieff talks about. That is where we are. That's the biggest problem we have, Remember, you who studied a little bit of Gurdjieff, when you have the octave of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. So there's 2 places where there's an interval that if we don't have a shock there, we deviate. It's very easy. Like, I start, really with a lot of enthusiasm, and I move on, do, re, mi. If I don't have something that makes me stay on the path, I'm going to deviate. And somebody comes and says, oh, let's do this. And then all of a sudden I move out of it. And I keep in circles, in
And
spirals.
that shock, as far as I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, that shock can both come from within or from outside, right?
Perfect, perfect. It's either from within or the outside. But sometimes we're so sleeping, we're so enthusiastic of doing this, and then we're not here and now, and something distracts us and takes us away from where we were going. And then we stay on that loop, that spiral, boom, 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 until, we are ready to
Not
go.
even
There's
a spiral, a circle, a flat circle, right?
a
Spiral is
flat,
actually.
yes, a flat circle. And then when something happens to us, so, a chaos or something really, I've had several in my life that was like a, choom, come on, move on, and then I was, okay. So we need the group, Gurdjieff said that the groups help us to have the alarm clock, more, if I listen to the same alarm every single day, I wake up and say, okay, and I turn around and continue.
Especially the friction among people in the group that their personalities clash, right? That kind of
Sometimes,
friction can be a
yeah.
shock to wake up.
Or someone that calls your attention and says, hey, man, wake up, you're sleeping,
From
So
the
that's,
heart, not because they're criticizing you.
yes, from the heart. So that's what it's important about a group, and sometimes it doesn't come from a group, comes from outside, like that experience I think I shared with you. That was, I was a little bit depressed. I was super depressed for situation X, and I was crossing a little river down here. And I was very sad, very depressed. And I literally yelled out, intent, give me a sign now. And at that moment, there was a flood of the water. It was raining strong, and the waters came and threw me inside the creek. And I tumbled for about more than for a mile. I tried to,
Wow, I didn't know that story, Pat. I didn't know that.
I tried to hold onto these tubes, and I broke the tubes. I started to take everything off.
Was the water dirty?
No, the water was just a flow. It's a creek, but it was
Ah,
enxurrada.
okay. So you were not in the urban city. You were in the country.
Yeah, I was in the country, and I
Ah,
was
okay. I
crossing.
think you are in São Paulo, like,
No,
and you
no,
found in
no,
Rio Tietê. I was like, oh my God.
no, no, no. I was
Okay.
crossing the creek. There's a little bridge, and I said, "Give me a sign." And at that moment, the water was so strong, like a enxurrada. I don't know how to say that in English.
Flood.
A flood, and just threw me inside the creek, and I started to tumble. There's huge rocks. It's amazing. And, and I'm trying, and I would go down, boo, 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 flooding, and, and then all of a sudden I said, okay, let go, let go, let go. And I just went boom, 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 until I finally had the strength to hold to
Cyprus.
and pull myself out and walk inside a forest without no shoes, without anything, and go to this posada, this little hotel on the road, through the forest. I didn't have one scratch. I didn't have one broken bone, nothing. So,
That's an amazing experience.
so intent. I was so, and then I said, yeah, here I am, poor little me, pobrecita, oh my gosh, poor little
Self-pity, which is
self-pity,
self-importance in disguise, right? According to Don Juan.
self-importance, a huge self-importance. How did this person do this to me? Blah, blah, blah. And then I asked literally, I need help, intent. And the help that came was, come on, stop it. Stop it. You have strength within. Stop it. Stop pitying yourself, So I share this not to show that I'm stronger
It's
than any.
amazing. I mean, if you get that metaphorically, you got into the flow and you let go in that same experience.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's perfect. You let go and don't keep on defend. And so when going back to the circle, we keep going around, that's why it's important, a group. It's important what you're doing right now, Moses, because
Thank you.
maybe this can help. It helps me just to review all these things
Oh,
and
I
talk.
think there is a magic in conversations. I think we all learn,
Yeah,
and some people might resonate with one or more aspects of what we're talking. Okay, this is already some help, some kind of light in the end of the tunnel.
yeah,
And
that's it.
yeah, it's amazing, Patch. I just want to say to you something that I said to you a few days ago. I just want the viewers to listen to this. I was part of a spiritual group in Brazil that was in a form of a channeling. There was a medium that channeled an entity. And in one of my conversations with this entity, and I was really interested in following Castaneda's path too, and his path, because he was also having like a work. And his work was based on the fourth way. It was not a Gurdjieffian work, but it has all the elements of the fourth way. And he used to say he was not a master, he was just a voice, and he didn't want to be a guru to anybody. And I remember asking him about Castaneda's path, and he actually told me in his view, the whole Castaneda slash Don Juan slash Toltec path, as presented by Castaneda, was nothing more than a fourth way in disguise. So it's not a coincidence that Gurdjieff work and Castaneda has so many things in common. And I firmly believe in that. And by knowing the Gurdjieff work later, I could see that he was right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And to me, observing today what's going on around us and all this and this this moment of the planet Earth, it's so important to me. I mean, the only reason that, that I'm sharing all these things, because they might, brings to me and might bring here some seeds of how much we need to move on from the domestication, from the socialization, from things are this way and there's no other way, and this world is,
from the hopelessness, right? Because a lot of people are feeling hopeless today. Depression is a pandemic. It's the real pandemic is depression now in the world.
Yes. That's the depression. That's the pandemic. It's like our planet needs healing. It's sick. And it comes from this place of disconnection from our heart, from our inner selves, and from one another. Because I have this, I didn't mention it, but I have two teachers after Castaneda, like, crossed my path.
One more synchronicities, right?
Pure synchronicities. Carlos Jesus Castillejos, who is a
so that's not Carlos Castaneda, that's another Carlos.
It's another Carlos. His name is Jesus Castillejos. He is from Mexico. He's a Nagual, in my respect. He's a Don Juan.
Can I just make a parenthesis here? Sorry for interrupting you. We have been using the term Nagual for two things. One is what is invisible, what is all around us and interpenetrating our reality, right? In counterpart to the tonal, which is the known. And the other is what Castaneda and Don Juan were and this guy was. So there's two uses for the word Nagual, just clarifying here so nobody gets confused.
Perfect. Nagual used in this tradition, when we refer to a person who is a Nagual, is someone that in his community has the configuration, energetic configuration, to lead that group, to bring the wisdom, to share. So they're, almost pointed out by the community as such, because they do have that configuration. Right. And in this case that I was mentioning, this other Carlos, who is from Mexico, he crossed my path. He came to Brazil to our NGO here in Chapada Diamantina in Bahia, where I am.
Let's talk about that too later.
Yeah. And I was shocked completely, because he brings the Mayan Toltec tradition. And he met Castaneda. In fact, he met Castaneda in the 80s when Castaneda used to go to Mexico. He met Castillejos, and Castillejos was a young, and they had a group of practices of magical in their way. They didn't call it magical passes.
So he was doing magical passes since the 80s?
Yes,
wow.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
And so he was, doing this. Castaneda would stop by and share his experience with Don Juan with this group. So Castillejos, after all these years, is a wise Nagual. And I remember,
how old is he?
He must be in his 60s.
Okay.
Now.
Yeah.
And we did a walk here through these little valleys, mountains, for 7 days. And I remember, I will never forget.
Oh my God, I want to know him. Please invite me for the next walk.
We walked for 7 days in silence. That was the commitment, like a serpent in silence, one after the other. And when we stopped to eat a little something, he would share teachings. And I would sit there and I just felt like crying all the time, because it was so from the heart. It wasn't a teacher that comes and sits in front and gives all this lecture. It was while we would sit around and share, he would bring, point out things of nature that were present there. And I was, oh my gosh, So this is Carlos that I will bring to you more, Moses, because he's really amazing. He lives in Mexico.
Who were his teachers? Like, what lineage he comes from? If there is a lineage.
He is of a Mayan tradition there in his village. I don't know the name of the people that he follows, because he's been, on the track ever since. He also studied psychology. He went into the tonal world, into the horizontal world. So he has this
Some
look.
official credentials, right? Too.
It's
Not
like
only not only alternative.
yeah, it's like Castaneda when he told Miles and Aaron at the time, you know, Miles is a medical doctor. And he says, you know, you guys should study the science and all this and see how you connect the Toltec tradition with the scientific world. He gave that, let's say that responsibility or that
Yeah.
to Miles and Aaron.
Yeah.
So Castillejos, Carlos, he has this connection with the psychology and blah, 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 and to the Mayan calendar, the original one. So why am I talking about him? I don't even remember.
You
Oh,
said that you had two other teachers. He was one of them.
he was one of them. And the other one in this tradition was Juan Carlos Romera, who is from Guatemala, who I also met by chance. And he did my Mayan cross. And I said, wow, who is this guy?
What is Mayan cross? What is that?
The Mayan cross is in astrology. There, we all know when you've known about Arguelles, who is a wonderful teacher of the Mayan astrology, Arguelles.
No, I don't.
However, he organized it in a way a little bit different than the original Mayan calendar. And the Mayan calendar is different than our calendar of our horizontal world here, right? Christian Gregorian calendar. It's very different. I'm not going to go into it because it has a lot of details.
Is it cyclic? Is it cyclic? Just a curiosity.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
There are 20 Naguals, Nagual in the sense that there's energy. Every day there's a specific energy of the day for, 20. I don't want to go into this because
Okay.
it's long, but Juan Carlos, what is the cross, the Mayan cross in the astrology? They draw through your birthday, your center, which is your essence. At the bottom, there's another energetic configuration, which is your, let's say, the
shadow
conception, how you were conceived.
Oh, conceived,
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And your legacy. And then on the side, there's two aspects to look at that contribute to your path. So when I had this cross, the Mayan cross, read to me about my walk, my path.
Without him even knowing you.
What?
Without him even knowing you before.
No, it was just my date, my birthday, and that's it. And he gave me that, and it gave me so much information. I had done astrology maps, to get to know myself. But this one went so deep. It brought me things that I had never acknowledged.
Oh, I want to do one too. Is he still available?
Yes, I'll give you.
Oh,
I'll send
great.
you
Okay.
his connection. He's amazing.
So he talk about your conception, future, and the forces that are.
Future.
Mm-hmm.
And in my case, it has a lot to do with healing, to where I've always worked. Anyways, as a therapist, I'm a psychotherapist as well. I've always worked in that area, but I never gave it such, importance.
That for some reason I didn't know you were a psychotherapist, Pachi. I didn't know that. I think I got the lie that you told to Castaneda, and I always thought you were a journalist.
Well, I'm doing something that I never do, or I've only started doing recently, is talk about myself. Because one of the things, it took years, I'd never told anybody that I interviewed Castaneda, and that I kept it. And he would recommend, this goes back to something you said earlier, self-importance. Castaneda would bring so much, and in the books of Don Juan, about the self. If there's three things that he would play with us, leave out the sugar, leave out the coffee, because we drink a lot of coffee here. Leave out the, oh, what a nice guy you are, Moses. You're so special, man. Wow, you're amazing.
And then the ego inflates, like.
Exactly, the self-importance. So it was sugar, coffee, and self-importance, And when we look at that and we see ourselves in that place, it's so easy to fall into that trap, So I used to take seriously, no pictures. We didn't even take photographs at that time. no pictures. And when we would, I had to take pictures, I would go, but I would kind of slide back and hide behind someone
Interesting.
or whatever.
I know.
Many years, I was very fanatical about the protocols. And then
How
I said,
about saving sexual energy? How did you deal with that? That was something that got me in my mid-20s, and I was like, that was something really hard, you know?
well, I had the luck, I don't know if you were present or not, but in one of the Castaneda, after the workshops, would meet with a small group of people. And in one of those very small groups of people that I participated, maybe 20, 30 people, that's all. He said
Was that in
something about
96 too, or later?
97, 90, I don't know, somewhere around that time, that after the workshop, we would kind of go, and Castaneda, I had lunch with him other times, not only that one particular time, but in this one meeting, I remember he said something about sexual energy, that is what you're bringing right now, which can be useful right now, which is, he said, in the book, there is a misunderstanding of what you understand about sexual energy, that it's, no, don't do it, da, 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 da. The fact is that you all don't even know anything about sexual energy. You don't know what it is. You just go around and fuck and and have an orgasm, and that's
Like more
it.
like a hedonistic activity, right? Hedonistic, just for
And then
pleasure.
you throw out your energy, you lose all your energy, you have this wow. And that's not. If you knew how to make sex, it would be totally different. So for my group at the beginning and Don Juan, this was a recommendation because we don't know how to use that energy. So we just,
It's like playing with fire, right? A child playing with fire.
perfect, yes. So the difference is, I don't know, do we have light here? No.
It's
It's getting
okay.
dark.
Your light is okay.
Okay.
I think the camera is adapting.
Okay. So it's not prohibited sexual energy. What was recommended was, especially for the woman who lose, well, that's another topic, but the losing of energy, you just have an orgasm, that's it, you're over. You lose energy. But there's a way of using sexual energy which is completely different, that I learned later with the Taoism, the inner alchemy, of how
Is
to
that
use.
connected to Tantra, to the Buddhist Tantra Buddhism?
Yes and no. The alchemy, the inner alchemy, the sexual inner alchemy studies that I do have a lot to do with the micro orbit, and how if you're making sex, how you make that energy flow between you and your partner. That's a whole new topic. But what Castaneda meant at that particular time in our lives was actually, it's not about not having it, is how you use your energy, your sexual energy.
Right.
Answering your question, that's where he went.
Cool. Thank you. So you said making sex, and people nowadays are used to say making love. How do you see this making sex versus making sex in the right, I would say, more profound, energetically pertinent way versus making love? How do you see those?
I don't
The
think there's a
difference in
difference
those terms.
when you are connected presently with your heart, and you are fully, with love in your heart, and you're doing sex with that person. So in that's a completely different sexual exchange that is happening, because there's the ingredient of love, connection,
Right.
totally different than just, screwing. Sorry for the
Right,
vulgar,
yeah.
but just fucking,
Yeah. I hope YouTube don't censor us, but whatever. If that, I can take a beep, put like a beep there. So you're talking about the second teach, coming back to or is there anything you want to talk about more about this, or maybe to connect with Mantak
No, no,
Chia or something? No?
no. I think that let me put on, because it's getting dark here in the room. Just one sec.
Okay.
There you go. Because I live in nature, total nature here. So
Pat, put the camera a little bit. You're cutting your head.
here, is this good?
A little bit down.
Like
That's
that?
better. Yes.
Okay. So maybe
So, okay.
go ahead.
So
Go
maybe
ahead.
what? So
No,
now we are at 2 hours and 18 minutes. So you know. No, 2 hours. No, sorry. We
1 hour and
started at 1 hour and 18 minutes. So you know
okay.
where we are, okay?
Yeah, we can
Um,
continue a little bit. I don't have too much more time,
okay,
but
maybe we can do other interviews in the future. I think we have
yeah,
so much to talk.
maybe
Um,
maybe I can share now with you some more of synchronicities of
absolutely, yeah.
why I'm here,
Yeah.
why
And
I'm here.
where are you?
I'm in Bahia at a place called Chapada Diamantina, where there used to be mining of diamonds. You know, many years ago it was prohibited and it became a national park about 20 years, 30 years ago. And I came here because of something happened. Because of that event, when I met Castaneda and I came back to my group of Gurdjieff, and they were kind of, I was a little bit sad. And I had a bookstore at that moment, a bookstore of buscadores, of seekers, not esoteric. It was a bookstore that people could come and look for
Like
things.
spirituality, new
Yeah,
age, or whatever.
yeah,
Although I don't like
exactly.
the term new age, but
Yeah.
that's how
But it was,
sometimes it's labeled.
and a man came across to give a talk because I had it open for talks and events also. And he mentioned he was a shaman, and he mentioned Chapada Diamantina, that he lived in a place called Riachinho. And I said, oh, nice. I registered that. And when I was
Hmm.
sad, I said, I want to go to Riachinho. I don't know why in Chapada Diamantina. I have no idea what moved me, but I said, okay, I told my companion, let's go to Chapada Diamantina to Riachinho. So I ended up coming to visit to see what this is about, and I fell in love with this place. I literally fell in love. It was so impactful. It was just, and I
Is it
started,
like I never went there, although I'm from Brazil and I traveled a lot? I never went there for some reason. Is that kind of a Grand Canyon, green Grand Canyon kind of thing?
yes, yes, it has mountains all over. It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, there's no words, I must
Lots of
say.
water?
Yes, waterfalls, you
Wow,
know,
I love it. I love it.
beautiful waterfalls. That's where I was going just a while ago. But anyways,
That's why
I
you
found,
fell on the creek?
yeah, I fell in the creek that goes that direction. But I started to come here and I brought the groups, the practice groups of São Paulo and Brazil to do events here at my friend's place. I have a shining woman. She's a medicine woman that lives across.
You
And
have
that's
a
my
shiny, what do you mean?
There's a woman I met at that occasion called Sylvie, Shining Woman.
Shiny, like bright,
Shining,
shiny?
yeah,
Ah,
Shining
okay.
Woman. She's a shaman and a medicine woman. And she lived across the river. And I started to come to her place with the groups. And, I started to come and come until I decided to buy a little corner here. And everything happened by chance because I don't have the resources, but everything flowed in a way that I bought this little place. And then the group of Castaneda lovers wanted a place that we could find, that we could practice. We wanted a practice place. And so we started to, as a group, look all over in the southern part of Brazil, in different places. We traveled all over, and it showed up in a magical way, the place that we have now. It's another
Mhm,
story,
mhm,
but it showed up magically. And that's where we have the NGO now, that
mhm.
we started off as a group of people, practitioners that wanted really to get together. It didn't work so well for a couple of years. We didn't have the same line of thoughts until I found a way with another partner, Janaína, who you will meet
Oh
eventually.
yeah, I'm going to interview her soon. right?
Yeah.
From Spain.
And Jana, which was a practitioner from that time, I met her more than 20 years ago.
Was
And
she a Gurdjieff practitioner or
no, she was a
Tensegrity? Oh,
Castaneda.
she was. Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was just Gurdjieff that you had in
No,
common.
no, she was from the Castaneda group, and then she a Buddhist. She had different ways,
But she was
together
not
with
from the period that I was in Brazil. She was not from the early 2000s, right?
no, she was in the she
Because I
came
don't
around.
remember her. Yeah,
Yeah, she came around 2002, around that
that's when
time.
I moved. Yeah.
And together with her, we came up with this project, which is now the NGO, and we offered our friends of that group who wants land and who wants to be an associate. Most of them wanted to be land, a piece of land. So we divided the land, and we have a piece of land now that we donated and became associates of a NGO that's called A Dream for the World. That's another story, because the
Cool.
resources came for some reason that it's too many stories, too many
Is
things.
that the one? Is that the organization that you actually found a sponsor or something, or a patron?
Exactly, exactly. That's because I'm crazy enough to follow the signs, and I met George Cookies, and well, anyways, he gave us the resources to get it settled, and we did, and now it's an amazing place. It's a beautiful,
I want to
right?
go visit there with my wife.
You'll have to come and visit, and I would love more people to come, because the world is upside down. I think it's time for us. And so I'm working. So the reason, going back to why I came here, because back then I would come for 1 month or so and back to Sao Paulo and back and forth, even though I built my little house here, this one that I'm talking now. And slowly, I only have solar panels. There's no electricity here, but it was
Whoa, are you off the grid?
totally off the grid.
Oh my God, that's my dream, you know? I really want to be off the grid one day.
So here I ended up in about 3 years ago, 2 years and a half. I took the decision to leave everything in Sao Paulo, get my backpack, and come here to live and take care of the NGO. I made a promise when I saw that amazing place where the NGO is. There's some mountains there, like the Monument Valley, let's say. And I looked at them, they're like guardians. And I said, I'm a guardian here, I promise. So I'm keeping that promise, and I'm taking care of that piece of land, open to new associates, because it's beautiful. And I want to do agroforestry, permaculture, and some events happen there, like Vision Quest, different activities, shamanic work, people go there to do. And it's really a very special place. And that's why I'm there. Right now, I'm here at the little village, because I stay there during the week, and I come on Thursdays back
Mhm.
to socialize a little bit,
To see
to
other people and
see
get
other
into the
people.
world a little bit, although it's
Yeah.
not like a
And
big
the other
city.
time I'm over there at the NGO.
So,
So
Patty, I'm going to put everything in the description, all the links to your NGO, to your place, and everything we have been talking that it's important for people to know. But in case people don't read the description, can you just give some contact information of how people can reach to you, or how people can go to workshops there, even with those shamans that you told me?
Well, I'm not good at media. That's because I follow the path of Castaneda.
No, I mean,
I,
only
and I
if you
started
if you
to
if you
come
are
back.
open to it. Are you open to people
No,
to
I
reaching
am
out to you?
open. No, I am open, but I don't have the facilities. So Instagram, a friend of mine said, you need to have an Instagram, Facebook, you need to have a Facebook. And they started to take care of that. So it's still very, I put very little things there, but I can give you my Instagram. It's, but doesn't have much there, or my Facebook also.
Yeah, I mean, anything that they can contact you. I believe that some people would be watching this interview and eventually be interested and wanting to contact you, you know?
Yeah.
because they're going to know the big picture, who you are and where they come from.
Yes. Do you need?
You better be
Shall I?
preparing. You better be preparing yourself there. I hope
Yes.
this video can spread out to more people. You know.
Patricia Aguirre is the Facebook.
Okay,
Patricia
Patricia
Aguirre.
A
Aguirre.
G
U
Patricia AGU.
UIRRE.
Got it.
And I don't know if there are other Patricias there, but it's a picture of me on top of a hill. That's the Facebook.
Oh, that's
And
the Facebook. And how about the Instagram? Do you have Instagram already?
I have it, but I don't, I don't keep it. Let me see. It's MPA Aguirre. Let's see here. That's weird, for you to have someone that is so, I think it's MPA. Wait, MPA. Yeah, M. Patricia Aguirre.
Okay, Instagram is M Patricia Aguirre and Facebook is Patricia Aguirre. And what is your photo in Instagram so people can identify you?
What is what? My photo?
What is the photo in Instagram? Because you said the Facebook is you on a mountain, right?
Yeah, it seems like it's the same one, me on top of a mountain.
Okay, yeah, it might be the same because they belong to the same company.
Yeah.
So those shamans, one is Nagual and the other is a Mayan astrologer, so to speak, right?
yeah, he's also, the name they give to him in Guatemala is Arqui, which is also a leader of a community. But I can send you, as soon as we're off, I'll send you his connection and his site so that you have it. And
Are they coming soon to your place to do any event or something? Is there anything scheduled already?
well, we're dreaming of it because it's so special. Last time Carlos Castillejos came, it was 2019, and he had
Before
come
COVID.
yeah, and it was 2 years in a row, 4 years in a row that he came. And
Wow.
on 2019, he said,
Something's gonna happen.
he said, 2020, I'm not coming. And we said, why not? He says, I'm not coming. He didn't explain or anything, but he said, I'm not coming 2020. So he probably already intuited and did that.
Some
But
shit is going on. Some shit is coming up, right?
yeah, but he does things in Mexico. He does some events in Mexico. So I'll give you but you can check. Do you have, we have there's a web page of all this material that we do of Carlos Castillejos, basically, which is the one that Janaína now takes care of, but I helped create it.
Okay, so let me tell you one thing. Those names are so similar, Carlos Castaneda and Carlos Castillejos. Now we're talking about Carlos Castillejos, not Carlos Castaneda, because Castaneda is gone, right? To another dimension or whatever.
Yeah.
So let's
there's
talk about Miles and Erin, the students of Castaneda. I know you kept practicing with them, and I'm wanting to interview both eventually. Maybe Erin first, and then Miles a few months later or something.
Yeah. Well, what I can tell you, and I suggest, is maybe I'll send you the link for the next Sunday. They created this webpage called Being Energy. Being Energy.
But they're not together anymore, right?
They're not together. He has one webpage and she has another one.
And that's the same name?
No. Being Energy is the one that she is taking care of right now. And it's they have a lot of courses on Path with Heart. And these courses are about 2-3 months long, every Sunday. And
it's all remote?
Remote. And she brings the magical passes. She brings a focus on a topic, a specific topic. So I'll send you the link for this one that already started Sunday, but you're open freely to watch it. You don't have to pay, just, send you the link. And if you
That's
like,
from
you
Mary. So
pay.
magical passes is the movements that Castaneda brought that were taught by Don Juan, right?
Yes,
Just
however, they cannot use the word magical passes, and they use energetic movements.
okay,
Okay,
got it. Yeah, it's a
that's more what the energetic movements. And so
more
you'll have,
similar a little bit to Gurdjieff because Gurdjieff also had the movements, right?
yes, yes, yes. To me, if you don't have our body involved, our movements involved, even as a therapist, I always bring body work because it's super necessary. And the
So
Gurdjieff groups movements are amazing. I mean, you know how
they are
extraordinary.
so difficult. Yeah, they're extraordinary, but so difficult. So knowing now that you are a psychotherapist, what kind of line or school did you follow most, or you integrated many?
That's funny question because my daughter says that I am cara de pau. How do you say that?
Jack
Um,
of all trades or something.
It says, if people ask you, what is the line you follow? What is your tradition? You're going to say, it's mine.
Eclectic,
It's
eclectic.
what I was, but I started off first with psychoanalysis, then with
Freud,
the Jungian,
Jung.
uh, Jung, which really is to this day fills
Me
my
too,
heart,
me too.
Jungian way of dealing. But then slowly I started to go into more work that involves the body. And that was
Which line specifically, like Rolfing or
no,
Fritz Perls?
no, it was more on the intuitive side of bringing in the meditation, some of the things that Gurdjieff would do. Uh, that's what my daughter says, that I put I created this way of
That's the beauty, yeah. I mean, because everybody has a piece of the puzzle, like Ken Wilber would say, right, in his first book.
yeah,
Nobody can be so idiot to be 100% wrong, and everybody has a piece of truth. And that,
exactly.
yeah, I agree with that.
I love Ken Wilber, Feldenkrais, all of these amazing teachers,
Yeah,
Reich.
yeah,
They're
I love,
amazing.
yeah. When I was in the beginning of my exploration too, I I noticed the importance of somatics, and I really I did a therapy that was Alexander technique. I did that for a few years. I loved it.
Mhm. So if we're open to seeing what the person needs mostly, sometimes I'll bring the EFT, the emotional freedom technique, the one that, or the tapping, sorry, the tapping.
Right, right, right.
So we have to be open to just be present and listen
Yes.
as therapists, as people, whatever we're sharing, to be able to
Mhm.
listen. And that's it. And so right now, at this moment of my life, when I teach Qigong, some people, I teach Qigong, this online practice of Qigong, which is from the inner alchemy
From
of Taoism,
Mantak
of
is that
Mantak
connected to
Chia.
Mantak?
Yes, that's the formation I had. But Lee Holden was also my instructor. He lives in California, Lee Holden. So I do things with Lee Holden also. But this inner alchemy, this body work that they bring through these movements have made a difference in my life, in health wise.
Right.
Amazing. Together with the energy passes of bringing energy back to our, so we created a group. This is the last thing I'm going to say before I go, because I really have to go.
Okay.
It's called the Tao of Nagual,
Mm-hmm.
which is Tao from the Taoism. The Tao. What is the Tao? Anything that defines the Tao is not the Tao, right?
That's right.
So
As
Tao.
Lao Tzu would say.
Exactly. Tao of Nagual. And Nagual is this aspect of the unknown, the
Also
mysterious,
undefinable. Yeah.
also undefinable. So when we look at these, and because I studied for 20 years Taoism, and for more than 20 years this Toltec tradition, and a lot of my friends that practice with me or even took courses with me, we created the Tao of Nagual, where we practice every Thursday for free. We don't charge. Early in the morning from 8 to 9, an hour, but we open with the Qigong, with the practices of the movements of Qigong as a warm-up to connect, to put our feet on the ground and, all these movements. And then we go into the magical passes, to the energetic movements. The rest of it, we do about 15 minutes of Qigong, and then we go to the magical passes.
How about, I know you have a short time, but I just didn't want to leave that. How about the element of recapitulation that Castaneda said that would go hand in hand with the magical passes? Do you guys practice that?
Yes, yes. Because recapitulation in the path of heart, in the Toltec tradition of Don Juan, is one of the main pillars. Okay, recapitulation. And what does the recapitulation involve, actually? And we do it always in the end of our class, we recapitulate, because it's not to analyze anything. It's not to use our mental, it's how do we, anything that distracts us, anything that shows up, that emerges emotionally to take us off our path, or something that disturbs us, don't analyze it. Just put it in the screen right in front of you. That's the recapitulation that Castaneda at the last times would say to us. There's a more traditional protocol that I can talk about, but the main thing is that you look at the scene, you check out the emotion that's present. What is the feeling there? And what is the dialogue that is configuring that story? And then I breathe, inhale and exhale. It's like I'm bringing back the energy that I left in that situation, and I'm returning what doesn't belong to me. So recapitulation has this, it's like a sweeping, that you're sweeping the floor. Inhale and exhale and let go. And then you come back, inhale, and you do that until you're lighter and you left it, you're not so involved. So we recapitulate at the end, at least for a few minutes. However, the
That's nice.
practice in itself, the traditional way, which is that was given for Taisha, Florinda at those times, was for you to make a list.
Oh, this is not for our times anymore?
No, it is for our times, but I gave a very brief way of
Right.
your daily. But if you're going to practice the recapitulation, it's very good to take areas of your life. This is a pillar.
Especially sexual encounters, to start from there, right?
Sexual encounters, your partners, the homes you lived, the jobs you had, whatever, and take that area. And from today to the very beginning, you write down the name of the people that are involved there, to the very first one. Like, say, the people that I made sex with, the present to the very first one. I write da. And I start with this first one right now. Inhale, exhale, bring him to the present. What do you feel? And you recapitulate and, do the cleansing, and then you go. But, that's one list.
So when you say you go, I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong again, that you actually try to remember all the significant interactions you had with that specific person, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
The things will show up naturally. They will show up of that person, discomforts, some things, and you just put it in the scene, and then just look at that scene and that person. And inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. So this is a way of cleaning up and letting go. And then you go to the next one until you get to the first one. They would do this in little caves. They would do this in little corners with not to be distracted of a topic. Maybe you would take an entire week or more to take one subject, one area. So this is a practice that takes a while. What I mentioned earlier is, if we cannot do that, do it the simplest way. We can recapitulate our day. Today, at the end of the day, before I go to sleep, what took me off track? And take that one little thing and do my recapitulation with that. That's enough.
Yeah,
That's
and only us, like when we do that, at least my experience, we know when it's time to stop. Like, let's say I have 3 people in the list. I do the first one, and then I remember everything significant that happened. And then there was a time there is some lightness, and then it's like, okay, I can move on to another person, right? It's something
yeah,
very intuitive. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So Castaneda, at the very end, he told us, you don't have to do the protocol,
Orthodox, not orthodox Nagualism.
orthodox, but recapitulate. And just remember that when you're just doing it, you're cleaning up. It's like, one last thing.
Yeah.
In order for us
Sorry,
to
what?
follow this path, in order for us to be free, have a perception, free perception, away from the socialization, the domestication,
The
we need to have
programming.
the programming, we need to have energy. And the energy comes from either the magical passes that we bring back to our centers, to our decision center. This is a center here that is very basic. We give away our power of authority when we're little kids to daddy, mommy, the teacher, and then to gurus, and we give away to our partners. We give away this power that is ours. So we do passes to bring back that energy. Anyways, going into the magical passes, bringing back what dispersed in this luminous egg to our vital centers. And recapitulation has that also, that goal,
Purpose. Yeah.
purpose, to bring back this energy that we left, especially women, when we have partners and we just give our energy away, just like that, and how do we bring it back to us, So there's lots of work to be done, and it all comes down to energy. How do we process? How do we deal with energy? How can we bring it back to our luminous reconfiguration? So the magical passes are good for that. The recapitulation is good for that. Dreaming, that's another topic.
Lucid dreaming,
For
right?
another
Lucid
moment,
dreaming.
lucid dreaming. So my dearest, this
Thank
is
you so
time
much.
for
Yeah.
us to close.
That
Thank
was
you.
amazing, Patty. As I
And
imagined. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't do this often. Like I told you before, it's not about self-importance. Many things I said here, I haven't said. I decided, but today I decided
Just
it's
like
all
when you were in the creek, let go, and
because it's also self-importance, not saying anything, keeping it to
yeah.
myself.
Yeah, I think that especially you told that the situation, the critical situation we all as human beings are in the world right now, the people that can have value and wisdom to share, they need to share. It's almost like an obligation. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Moses, for coming back. Let's get together again, and I hope you can
Yeah.
practice with us, even though it's very early for you there, but give it a
Okay.
try.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
gonna visit. I'm gonna make plans to visit you there at your NGO. Okay. Thanks,
great.
Pachi. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.